Time once again for Lostview! Lostview! Lostview. So finally at last, and guess what? I finally got this light working for the first time in like 3 months. I still can't get over the way it looks in here with the light on, let me tell you. I think the best way to go about this is probably to do the island stuff first and the flash forward stuff later. So I got the island stuff on one side of my card and the flash forward on the other. And this is, by the way, Allie, this is your card. I don't know if you're watching this. So when the episode started, Saeed was chasing Kate through the jungle. Now I know you're probably saying, wait a minute, that's not how the episode started. Well, that's how it started for me, because I slept over by like 15 minutes. I'm like, oh man. How the episode actually opens is with, and it was kind of cool how they did it, because they started with the previously on Lost, and then they showed the season 3 finale, the last scene from that. They're actually continuing, like segueing into another scene, which is the first actual scene of the finale, which was Kate turning back in her car, running up to Jack and saying, "What? We have to go back? We have to go back? Are you freaking kidding me?" It was something kind of awkward about it, actually, because it would almost be like if The Empire Strikes Back ended with Darth Vader saying, "I am your father," and that was like the end of The Empire Strikes Back. And then at the beginning of The Return of the Jedi, it would show Luke saying, "I am your father? You're not my father, what the hell are you talking about?" I don't know, that's how it came across to me. It's like they took this line that was so famous and like just almost like made fun of it. So we go back to the island and we got this really badass fight between the others and the military guys. You know, because we knew the others were going to come and save the day. The others managed to dispatch the other 4 military guys other than Kimi, which makes me wonder, you know, why Smokey couldn't do it. So Kimi goes off and chases Kate and Ben into the jungle. I thought it was kind of cool that when Ben tripped and fell, Kate actually went back for him. I was like, oh, since when did she care about him so much? Of course, people have been saying she was an other since the beginning. I don't know. So meanwhile, back on the helicopter, once they get everything taken care of, they head back to the helicopter. Unfortunately, on the way back, they realize one of the bullets pierced the fuel tank, and boom, they're running out of fuel. So they just barely make it back into freighter in time, but meanwhile, Desmond and Michael and Jin have been finding out they found out about this bomb, and I was wondering what happened like to all the other log-carrying guys that got taken, because he took like, I was under the impression Daniel Faraday made at least 2 or 3 trips with 6 people on each trip. There's not that many people left on the island now. We got Daniel and Charlotte, we got Sawyer and Juliet, who it's almost looking like they're going to try to make them a couple or something, which is not even that bad of an idea. See, we got Richard and all the others and Locke. And then we got Rose and Bernard. I'm assuming they didn't leave. You know, Saeed and Kimi had a really nice badass fight in there, but presumably we thought that he had died when Richard shot him. But we knew that couldn't have been the case because the bomb wasn't triggering to go off. So he was still alive, and he turned up, of course, later in the Orchid Station going after Ben and Locke. And Ben came out with a knife and just said, "You killed my daughter," and he starts stabbing the living crap out of him. And he really only gets 2 stabs in, but this is the place where he stabs him is the key. He pretty much got him in the jugular, I would guess. So Kimi's dead, bomb goes off. The helicopter just barely gets away, but Jin doesn't make it in time, so Son is screaming, "We have to go back! We have to go back!" I thought that was kind of, it's not funny, but, the fact that they had her use that exact line. I'm really starting to think he's dead, though. People don't want him to die, but how far out of their way do they have to go? Do they have to show us a body? Oh, well, yeah, they do. They do have to show us a body, I guess, to convince the really hardcore people. But now they even showed us Locke's body at the end, and people don't believe he's dead at all, because he's only dead in the future. I got kind of a theory about that. I'll get back to that in a minute. Back on the island, Ben goes into this underground sort of area, which they were already underground. He goes, which I think that when Marvin Candle was talking about the exotic matter in the video, I think that's what was behind it, that Ben was blowing up to get into. Ben gets back there, he turns the wheel, the island moves, poof, they're gone. Helicopter crashes. A little bit later, Penny finds them and takes them back to safety. And that's, pretty much the island story. I know I skipped a lot of stuff there, and I don't know. It's kind of weird, because, the logic that Jack used for saying, because all this time we've been wondering, well, why did the Oceanic 6 have to lie? And Jack basically explained it right there on the life raft, but that was something we could have, that was a logical conclusion we could have come to, like halfway into the season, so. Wouldn't he have stopped and hypothetically thought, well, if we do get off the island, we are going to have to lie about it because these people are trying to kill us, and they're going to continue. Obviously, if they want to kill us, they're going to continue to try to do that, especially if they find out that that there's other ways to get to it besides coming to the island. And then there's this whole issue of, well, can they come to the island? And I don't know. And it's exhausting even thinking about it. The flash forward stuff, I'm actually going to start with the last one, which is Jack and Ben. While Jack goes back to the funeral home, he breaks in and he looks in the coffin. He opens it up, and of course the camera shows him from behind. And the audience everywhere is just salivating, like busting at the seams, foaming at the mouth, waiting to find out who this is. And of course, just as we're about to find out, of course, Ben walks in behind Jack and says, "Hey, Jack," and Jack is just like, I love Jack's response. He's like so jittery, it's not even funny. Ben and Jack have this really long conversation, and I swear to God, when I was watching the episode, and every time I've watched it since then, I swear that Ben says, it sounds like Ben refers to the guy in the coffin. He's talking to Jack, and he uses the word he. So I would assume Ben is talking about Locke when he makes this statement. He says he's been riding planes hoping that they would crash. And when Ben said that, my first thought was, what, so it's Jack in the coffin? When I heard that, I thought, oh, so it's Jack in the coffin, and there's two Jacks, just like those two bunnies in the video, because one of them went back in time to a certain point, and he's trying to stop the other one from doing whatever, or something, I don't know. I was actually kind of hoping it would be Jack in the coffin, because I can make theories about that. But it turns out that it's Locke in the coffin, which just brings up so many questions, it's not even funny, because Locke was always the one who was the most gung-ho about not leaving the island. All the other characters said that Jeremy Bentham had just seen him a few days ago, but Jack said that Jeremy Bentham had come to see him a month ago. Now, I don't know if that means anything. Like, he came to Jack first and said, whatever, that you need to go back, that we have to go back, and whatever. And strangely enough, Jack believes it. They're leading us to believe that something terrible happened on the island after Jack left, and somehow it's Jack's fault. I don't know if I should mention this, but last night I had this dream that I was in some kind of department store, and there were a bunch of Marvin candles, like a bunch of clones of him, going around the store, and they were trying to kill me, and I had to get away from them. And in real life, I'm the kind of person who doesn't really like to ask for help that much, but I knew in this dream I was going to have to, so I kicked over this staircase that was made of styrofoam, and it came crashing to the ground, and all of a sudden everyone else started helping me, sort of like the others, I guess. Ben looked back at Locke, and he seemed so certain of himself when he said, "I have a plan, Locke, and you should know that by now." But then when he gets into the orchid, he goes and kills Kimi and says, oh, well, it was an emotional response. Like, all of a sudden he had an emotional response. So does that mean that the plan is in the toilet now? Or does that just mean that... Or was that his plan all along? I mean, I don't know. He also said that John Locke would be less likely to do that. I don't think so. If you were to ask just about anyone who is the more logical character, Ben or Locke, I think he'd probably say Ben. Because he's managed to rationalize all kinds of crap that he's done. So, if anyone's prone to emotional response, it's more likely to be Locke than Ben, I would think.